more Goldman Sachs discussion, and NameDrop misinformation. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Incogni. Don't let companies exploit your personal information. Visit incogni.com/MacVoices and find out how to protect yourself. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. The MacVoices live panel had lots of thoughts on the Apple-Goldman Sachs breakup over AppleCard, and also a lot of thoughts about the NameDrop misinformation that was being distributed by police departments. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. Brian, you had a point that I think it sounds insignificant, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Mark brought up from that article, but I'm a huge fan of that feature where, you know, the pay cycle or the cycle for the bill is comes up at the end of the month. You know, it's very easy to remember. You know, whoever ends up, you know, taking over as a partner with Apple on this, I really hope they keep that benefit because, you know, that's one of many of those benefits that are so helpful and very consumer friendly.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you never have to go and look and see, when's my due date or whatever. It's like,
right.
You know, when
always know
exactly,
it's the end of the month.
Yep, you know exactly when it is, and so you can plan accordingly.
You know, there's a bunch of like the iOS software and everything that goes with the card, and I wonder who's running that. I assume Apple wrote that because it's pretty good software. But is Apple, you know, how is that interfacing? Wonder how that works and how that's going to transfer. Assuming somebody else takes it over.
If we go under the assumption that you said that Apple wrote it, then it's proprietary and they can take that code and that look and feel anywhere that they decide to go to if they continue with the Apple Card. So,
right, that's what I'm assuming, but you know, who knows? You don't really know.
Well, it's built into the Apple Wallet too. That's why I think it's probably more proprietary. So.
Yeah, that would seem to be unbelievable to me that Apple would use somebody else's software for that. You know,
well, but at some point,
this kind of thing could happen.
At some point, that software must be linking into Goldman Sachs. So, you know, how is that happening, and so what does that take to switch that part?
So, Jim, I think there's two parts. Yes, there's Goldman Sachs at the back end, but I think the fact, you know, that the Apple Card, you know, creates a one-time unique ID valid for only that transaction. I think that's something unique, you know, and between Apple and MasterCard for their network. Mm-hmm. So
is that Apple Card does that or Apple Pay?
Well, certainly it may be both. It may be both. I was not aware of that as Apple Pay. I was only aware of that for Apple Card, but the big
benefit, you know, a big benefit of Apple Pay is that you're not, you know, when I use my watch, I'm not giving my card number to the retailer. Right. But I don't think that's true. If you hand them the card, I think it just works like a card.
I don't know about that, but I think if you use Apple Pay, you're not giving them your Apple Card number. But if you use, let's say, you know, one of your other bank cards, then I think it is that bank card number. I don't think it has the same security.
No. Because I don't have an Apple Card. I use a Bank of America Visa, and when I use my watch, the you know, Target or wherever I'm spending the money with, they don't get my Bank of America Visa number.
Okay, I did not know that. There's a discussion. Web.
I was just going to add real quick that before I even had an Apple Card, my bank issued credit card was a Visa card, and I've been using that with Apple Pay since really day one. So the Visa thing's always been there with Apple Pay. It all depends on who the member bank is and whether they collaborate. And of course, there were hundreds of banks that worked with Apple on Apple Pay. So that's all.
There's a discussion going in the chat room that questioning, because here we go. We have Apple Pay, we have Apple Cash or Apple Pay Cash was Brett says that was Discover at first, right? And then Brian, you said it was, and it moved away from that. Eric, you think now Apple Pay is on the Visa network?
Yeah, if you delete the Apple Pay card and have it regenerated, when it gets regenerated, it's regenerated as a Visa, which was useful to me because I go to Costco and now I can use it at Costco.
You mean the Apple Card? Is that what you're talking about?
No, Apple Pay. Because it was Discover. If you delete it and then have it recreated, it gets recreated as a Visa.
Talking about the Apple Pay Cash.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes, the little cash thing that comes out.
Right.
You transfer money into it, and it's whatever that balance is.
Right.
It was nice because I tried to use my Apple Cash at Costco, and nope, and then somebody said, "Oh yeah, you just delete it, you added it in again, and now it's Visa." So it's very, very useful now.
So Mark brought up one question and then we'll get away from this topic. But so let's just assume for a second that Apple Card goes away, or under whatever circumstance, it's no longer there. Apple Pay will still work with existing bank credit cards. Is that enough? Yeah. Is that enough to keep Apple in the game? Is that because Apple's going to get a piece of that action one way or another somehow? So is the overhead of an Apple Card worth it to them at this point?
Well, I think they get way more off of the Apple Card than they do off of Apple Pay.
Agree.
But is it enough? Because we've seen Apple walk away. We've seen Apple.
There's an implied for what? Is it enough for what, Chuck? What's your full question?
Enough to keep them in the game. I mean, we've seen Apple walk away from different revenue sources and our judgment has always been that it just wasn't adequate. It just wasn't enough to keep them interested. Brian?
There's one huge thing I think that Apple has done over the last couple of years with their Apple Card that really, I think, keeps a lot of people in the Apple ecosystem, and that's splitting your payments up over time. If you're on one of the big three cell phone companies buying directly, you can spread your purchase of your cell phone out. You can, buying a new Mac, buying an iPad, buying a watch, all those can be split into payments of either 24 or some of them are 24, some of them are 12 months. And I think that's huge to keep people in. It'd be very wise for Apple to stay and keep Apple Card for that reason.
I'm sure Apple would negotiate that with whoever their new replacement card bank provider partner is.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
Until recently, the deal was running till 2029, and now Apple's pulling out of it. I think Apple is not. If they weren't going to do anything, they would just let it run till 2029. They want to change. They're not. They're unhappy with. My guess is Goldman was not performing the way Apple wanted. Apple wanted them to do stuff, and Goldman wasn't doing it. So Apple was like, we need to find somebody else that's got their stuff together.
There's a board member that came out and used an expletive to talk about, what a terrible deal this was and how much they wanted out. And then Goldman seemed to have the consensus here was that Goldman then had to backstep and say, "Oh no, we're in for the long haul." And so, now I wonder if Apple just got fed up with it and said, "You know what?
Yeah.
If you don't want to be in business with us, we don't want to be in business with you. So let's get out."
I'm sure Apple was very unhappy with that kind of leaks coming out of Goldman.
Yeah.
Well, that, and somewhere I read today, not the WSJ article, somewhere else, that said that Apple is the merchant, because they're the one bringing people in, they're offering their name on the card, and merchant, there's terms of art used within the credit industry, and I'll have a comment on that to wrap up. But they say it's typical in cases like this. The merchant, will, contact the bank, and tell them that they want to make a change. So I think maybe, yes, Goldman has been belly aching. We've been hearing about it for months and months and months. I think it's maybe now gotten to a point where, Apple's decided, okay, yes, we need to end this thing and work with our partner to, get a workout solution. Having said that, here's just by dumb luck, there's this podcast called Acquired, and it's these two guys that tell the stories behind different companies and their business models. And it just so happened that the most recent episode talks about Visa and how Visa grew and starting from the mid mid or late 1960s, how it grew. And there's a lot of stuff. It's a long podcast, and get dogs if you want to listen to things, because they're great while you're walking them. But near the back end, I think maybe the last 60 or 90 minutes, they talk a lot about the current day networks and fee levels and so on and so forth. So if people really want to do more of a deep dive into understanding more about the relationships between, ultimately it's a 5-party relationship to make this work. So I would recommend that go into iTunes, look up Acquired Podcast, and the most recent one. You'll learn more than you ever thought was possible.
Good, thank you. I didn't even know about that podcast. That sounds like a good one.
I'm kind of curious what the source of this story was. I don't see, it doesn't seem like, there wasn't a press release from either company. Did the Wall Street Journal, were they the first ones that reported it, and everyone else is following up there, or what, where did this come from? Because it seems, if Apple was going to really announce it, you'd think they'd have all these questions tied up, like, here's our new provider or whatever it is they were going to do. This is kind of a weird Apple story in that it's incomplete and hanging, and I don't see any sourcing.
The first place I saw it was the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, that seems likely to me, but they're not. Yeah. I'm looking at the story. They're not saying based on they're not saying what their source is.
Well,
I was just going to say that too. I think Jim has a good point. Is that the article is not attributed to it's to anyone. No, there was no press release, no statement. Goldman hasn't said anything. Apple hasn't said anything. It's an article. I agree with Jim. Is that it's not attributed to anything. So,
but we've also
it's a leak. Yeah, it's a leak.
Yeah, but we've also
I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just it's just interesting that that's probably why that probably Apple and Goldman weren't planning on this being out today.
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah,
but this is where you start almost to get into the tinfoil hat club, where if there's no press release, if there's no attribution, is it one company or the other leaking the information, to get it out there so that they, I don't know if they're controlling the message or they're just letting you speculate. But if Apple is the one that wants out, you would think that they'd be the one that would be having it postured as, they want to leave the relationship. So,
which is what it says. But the fact that they're saying, well, nothing's really going to happen for 12 to 15 months. So that's really weird. Like that leaves us. Consumers are going to be like, well, what do I do? It's gonna make uncertainty and doubt for customers, and I'm sure Apple doesn't want that. So
12 to 15 months is not an unreasonable time period for something like this to be disassembled. Barry in the chat room says it's a Wall Street Journal exclusive. It broke at 5:53 p.m. 5:53 p.m. Eastern. So,
I do have to say, as far as financials might go, if anybody who would benefit from a leak from this, it would be Goldman Sachs, considering the perceived losses they have had with the Apple Card.
Plus, Wall Street Journal probably has lots of sources, more sources at Goldman Sachs than they do at Apple, most likely.
Yeah. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Incogni. Don't let companies exploit your personal information. Visit incogni.com/MacVoices and find out how to protect yourself. Odds are that you've already been involved in some type of data breach. Even if you haven't been, it's increasingly likely. According to the 2021 Annual Data Breach Report by Identity Theft Resource Center, there were 68% more breaches in 2021 than the year before. That's why you need Incogni. Incogni's mission is to help you take back control of your data privacy. Data brokers collect your personal information and/or sell it to other companies with just a few clicks of the mouse. Incogni can help you take back your data privacy just as easily. They deal with data brokers on your behalf, so you don't have to spend hundreds of hours jumping through hoops. Incogni reaches out to data brokers on your behalf, requests your personal data removal, and deals with any objections from their side. Just 3 easy steps and you're on your way to better privacy. First, create an account with Incogni and tell them whose personal data they will be removing. Second, grant them the right to work for you. They will then contact data brokers on your behalf and request your personal data removal. Third, kick back and let them do the work. They handle any objections with data brokers and keep you updated on their progress every step of the way. With the 30-day money-back guarantee, Incogni is risk-free. Visit incogni.com/MacVoices, sign up, and find out just how easy it is to improve your privacy. That's Incogni, incogni.com/MacVoices, incogni.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Incogni for supporting MacVoices. Let's move on. We beat this one to death, and I knew it would be intense. I didn't expect it to be quite that intense, but that's good. But I want to light a fire under David Ginsburg with this one. David, I'm going to let you just take this and run with it, because unfortunately, my state is one of the police departments that is spreading this misinformation about NameDrop.
Yeah, it started with a couple of local police departments. And I was very vocal on Facebook about this the last 2 days. My local municipality, as well as some other areas in Illinois, but I saw it across the country too. And basically what it was is all these police departments were spreading all this misinformation about the fact that, you got NameDrop, which of course we all know Apple released this in iOS 17.1, and it was a great feature. But the thing is, there's complete security to this. You can't just go to someone's iPhone and say, okay, let me just send you this information, and you're just going to send it without approving it. So these police departments would go through, and if you haven't done this already, oh my gosh, you got to turn off NameDrop and make sure that because it's defaulted by on, this feature should be turned off, and you should be worried about concerning this when people are bumping this. I mean, come on, people. This is not a security problem. It got a lot of press. I mean, in fact, there was a Wired article about it. I was watching my local TV station last night, and I even took a picture of that on the screen, that they even reported that this was misinformation, that it's not a security issue. And it was just absolutely just infuriating to see something like this. And then, of course, all the people that are on Facebook are falling for it, and they're sharing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm right away with friends that I know, and Ben knows this. I'm friends with on Facebook. He saw my post that hey, come on, this is not a security problem. And everybody started posting it, and I just couldn't believe this. I mean, I understand when something's not secure. If it's not secure, sure, turn it off. And if you don't want to use the NameDrop, sure, turn it off. I was talking to one of my coworkers this morning, and he unfortunately has to carry 2 phones with him. He has his work phone and his personal phone. When he's got them both on top of each other, NameDrop is always going off. So he has a good reason to turn them both off, because he doesn't want that to happen with his 2 phones. But that's just the case of the service itself needs to be turned off, and not the fact that this is a security problem, and the press just runs with this stuff all the time. But what makes it worse is these are police departments, these are municipalities that are reporting it. That made it absolutely more infuriating than anything. The press just grabs it so they can get some clicks and people watching the stories, but yeah, this just kind of infuriated me. And I guess I got mentioned on MacOS Ken, so I guess I must have really triggered something here. So I have to go back and listen. I haven't heard it yet, but
oh yeah, Ken talked about it in his show today. That
apparently I got mentioned. So
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
For exactly the reasons you were saying that. You're pointing out that it's disinformation.
Yeah,
David will be signing autographs after the show in case you.
Yes,
sure.
No, David, I mean, I'm with you. I was really sorry to see Pennsylvania named. I think Illinois was named. I believe Ohio was named.
Virginia was too.
Was it? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a real shame that, and it feels like back to some of our discussions about legislative bodies and all, just not completely understanding the tech, but jumping to it and saying, well, you've got to fix this. We have to protect the children. And I don't know about you guys.
Are going to be doing this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting to the point that every time I hear that phrase,
the children,
I'm immediately suspicious, and somebody's going to email me and nail me for that. But it's just like this is something that gets invoked every time somebody wants to do something that there are at least two sides to the story, and that's what this felt like. Again, that oh my God, children are going to be walking around with their iPhone, and then any predator that is within 2 feet of them will be able to get their contact information, and it's just so not right.
Yeah,
100%.
And the one thing I have noticed with this, it has seemed to spread like wildfire in rural police and sheriff's department with limited resources. Larger departments that had the resources to vet this, I'm not seeing many of them posting it at all.
But my municipality in my area, this is a town of 75 and 80,000 people. So this is a big city. It's not Chicago. It's not Aurora and Naperville, with the 3 largest cities in Illinois. But still, that's a pretty good substantial town that is reporting this, and they should know better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Craig in the chat room says, actually, our police department actually put out a post that was the opposite and supports what David says. And Barry said the children will probably know more about how it works than most of the police departments, which is a great
You nailed
point.
it, Barry.
You really did.
Great.
You really did.
Moral of story: don't get your tech advice from police departments.
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
But this story did get me to thinking about something, because one of the aspects of this is that the default is turned on.
Yeah. And
it got me to thinking about all the new features that we see come out in iOS and macOS and iPadOS. What should new features always be turned on? I mean, at what point do you say this is a new feature that gets turned on automatically, or that doesn't? That its default is off.
I think this is
Jim.
This is a feature. If you don't turn it on by default, don't even bother putting it in. Because imagine if it was off by default. And if you wanted to do this, then first thing you have to do is let's exchange contents. First, go into settings, go blah, 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 and then we'll tap our phones. Forget it. No one will ever do that. And it's just a useless feature. And I'm sure that's what the engineers at Apple thought it through and said, if we're going to do this, and they've got safeguards, so it doesn't do anything anyways. You've got to confirm, so somebody can make a thing come up asking you just say no. So it's
I agree with Jim, and quoting from Ken Rea's podcast today, he pointed out that if someone wants to share it, you still have to approve it. It's not something that will happen automatically, unknown to you in the background.
Right. Right.
I mean, think of.
No, go, Brian. Sorry.
I was saying, think of all those features that come out that aren't necessarily heavily advertised. They're great new features of the OS, and never learn about them, or down the road, somebody tells us about it. I'm like, oh, I never knew that. Oh yeah, it's been around for 2 OSs ago. It's like, really? It's one of those things. I love it.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time that there's been a touch devices to transfer contact information that's existed before. And I've had people come up and try to tap phones to even before this feature existed. They were doing it because on some devices it worked. And it's like, well, just bump a phone, and if it's there, it'll work. If it's not there, then I'll send it to you.
They were probably from the future.
There used to be an app for that.
Yeah. Oh, there was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think turning it on is great. And the people that bump their phones just to see will be pleasantly surprised. And,
Well, there have been a number of these that everybody solves the problem a little bit differently. Some solve it with a QR code. Some solve it with, the bump. In this case, my perception is it would be NFC. I haven't really looked into exactly what the mechanism is, but at the end of the day, this is an Apple endorsed way of doing it. So A, it's going to work with every iPhone, but B, you also should be able to feel pretty good about the security of it because it's built into the OS. It's not going through some third-party server or having access to anything else because Apple's already got access to everything. So if anything, it feels like this should be a better way of doing it than maybe what all the people that are worried about what the kids have been doing up to this point have been doing. So, So Barry says for people who are not in the ecosphere, there's a discovery issue unless they're turned on by default. And Craig says, yeah, the people with Apple cards will. Thanks, Craig. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Incogni. Don't let companies exploit your personal information. Visit incogni.com/MacVoices and find out how to protect yourself. Odds are that you've already been involved in some type of data breach. Even if you haven't been, it's increasingly likely. According to the 2021 Annual Data Breach Report by Identity Theft Resource Center, there were 68% more breaches in 2021 than the year before. That's why you need Incogni. Incogni's mission is to help you take back control of your data privacy. Data brokers collect your personal information and or sell it to other companies with just a few clicks of the mouse. Incogni can help you take back your data privacy just as easily. They deal with data brokers on your behalf so you don't have to spend hundreds of hours jumping through hoops. Incogni reaches out to data brokers on your behalf, requests your personal data removal, and deals with any objections from their side. Just 3 easy steps and you're on your way to better privacy. First, create an account with Incogni and tell them whose personal data they will be removing. Second, grant them the right to work for you. They will then contact data brokers on your behalf and request your personal data removal. Third, kick back and let them do the work. They handle any objections with data brokers and keep you updated on their progress every step of the way. With the 30-day money-back guarantee, Incogni is risk-free. Visit incogni.com/MacVoices, sign up, and find out just how easy it is to improve your privacy. That's Incogni, incogni.com/MacVoices, incogni.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Incogni for supporting MacVoices. This one is intended almost as a PSA, but also I think it's something that I keep seeing pop up. That apparently Google Drive users are seeing files disappear. Sometimes months of data seems to be disappearing. Have any of you that use Google Drive, have you experienced this or?
I did not.
Yeah, I think it shows you.
Go ahead, Ben.
I think it shows how much I use Google Drive that I haven't noticed. It's basically at this point just storage for my Gmail.
Yeah.
I mean, I use it. I use it for my podcast because I have a G Suite account, so I keep a lot of stuff stored in there for that, as well as I have a personal Google Drive account. So I haven't noticed it that it's happened, but it is a little concerning if that is the case for some people.
I was just going to add that I have a Google account as part of my Google Fiber internet service. And I throw some things in there. I'm not a big user of it, but I've never noticed things disappearing. But I never know it's not there until I realize it's gone. So,
Yep. Yeah, and I know a lot of.
Go, Ben. Sorry.
Go.
I know a lot of school districts that use Google Drive.
Sure.
So this could be something major.
Yeah, if it's school, for schools, especially, for sure. If that's happening in there, and again, does G Suite or whatever they call it now, I always forget. A lot of schools use that. I mean, I have a spouse that is a teacher, and they use it all the time, and I see some of the lack of security sometimes these school districts have. And Brian, you work in a school district too, so I mean, some schools are pretty decent with their security, others can be kind of lax, so you'd be a little concerned about that.
Yeah, we don't use Google products ourselves, but personally, I do use Google Drive a little bit, but it's never for any mission critical stuff. And everything that's important, it's like back it up multiple times.
Yep.
So I can't help this, but they may have done, this may be a huge boon to students everywhere who no longer have to say the dog ate my homework.
Yeah.
Google lost my files.
Yeah. It'll be now Google ate my homework.
Yeah, exactly.
And they can quote to this section of MacVoices, as proof.
Yes. Thanks, Mark. I'll be getting emails from teachers everywhere.
Yeah, and if you want a reason for skip school, wait till the next story.
Okay,
go
ahead. Go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
What's the next story?
Yeah.
No, it's a joke.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking with this, with the deleting or some of the files that may have been deleted. I wonder if it has anything to do with the timing. Isn't Google supposed to deactivate a bunch of dormant accounts?
Yes.
And like it's like coming up soon. I think it's maybe the end of the
this
year
week.
This week. Okay, yeah.
December 1st.
I don't know. Maybe the timing is, not coincidental. I don't know. Maybe.
Hadn't thought about that. That's interesting. Maybe somebody jumped the gun.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to bring one up that Mark had brought up in our Slack. Mark, I'll let you run with this for a second because you had talked about this before about every time you click on a Zoom link to launch in Safari that it asks you if you have to, and I know you weren't happy about that, and now apparently Apple has done something about it.
Oh yes, so as I recall, I don't know, maybe it was 3 or 4 months ago, we were having discussion. We went off on off topic, as we are prone to do. And the thing came up about launching apps, and I was really frustrated that evening that every morning I have I'll give a shout out to IBD, Investors Business Daily Live, and they have a show, and it runs about 90 minutes, talks about what's going on in the market and different investing ideas and things, and it's hosted on Zoom. And every day I get an email that has the link, and I had to click on it, and then have to click, do you want Safari to open Zoom? And I click Safari to open Zoom and then join meeting and blah, 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 blah. And we had a big, long discussion about it. And I know, Jim was involved in that, about, yes, they'd go through this, it's a safety mechanism and so on and so forth. And my point that I made, quite viciously, I'm sure I use more than a feather, to pound my point across, was that, I do it every single time. Why do you waste, my and who knows how many other people's time to go through this 2-step process? Why can you not have an automatic default that when you click a link, that opens a Zoom meeting, that you automatically open it in Zoom. Well, I noticed, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, going through this thing, I saw something, and sort of the bottom left of the screen of, always open this link and, always open this link with Zoom, and click yes. And, since then it's just been wonderful. So, whoever at Apple listens to this podcast, thank you very much, for you responding and making this improvement in usability in your products. And if no one at Apple did that, well, then, there's just random stuff that happens in the universe. But either way, it's a much better experience. And, I figured you wanted to say, thank you, thank you.
Probably someone at Apple uses Zoom.
I prefer to think that they watch the podcast, and if they do, we'll be sending you a list of feature requests after the show.
Yeah.
I was, when we were having the discussion about the Apple Card, I was imagining Tim Cook watching us discuss this and thinking, I'm so glad that isn't actually happening.
Well, I remember Tim Cook, I don't know, was it at some conference, and he was before they announced it, and he said, "Oh, well, people love their credit cards, and we're interested in credit cards, and then he came out, different ways. And I think even when they launched it, they said, people love their credit cards, and here's all the ways we're going to make it better with the Apple Card. So, I think, yes, Apple moved, user experience forward. It's unfortunate, their partner and things didn't work out, but, let's hope that, they get a replacement partner and continue it forward with, an increase in user-friendly services instead of, status quo, or even worse, decline.
Mark, I don't want to take us back to that subject, but you made a really interesting statement there that, they said we're going to make the credit card experience better, and they did. I mean, with Brian's point about the end of the month expiration date of the period, with the automatic funneling of the earnings into savings accounts and all those things, they really did make the credit card experience better. And so, now can they continue to do it with a new partner? I don't know, but just I like that idea that, we talk so often about, gee, if Apple could only do this, or if somebody would adopt Apple's methodology for improving that service. This is real evidence that a lot of the time Apple does follow through on that. They actually make something better.
Yes, they do. So, and again, one of the unique things about it is, they have they had some sort of, wheel that you could, investigate, if you have an outstanding credit balance, of what it would mean and how much you could save, So, I mean, yes, they made understanding using credit, a lot more simpler and easier to use. So in that regard, it's, well, I don't want to rehash that prior discussion, but yes, I agree with you, Chuck. They did make the credit card experience better. In this, they made the opening Zoom links better. And let's hope they make other things better as we go into 2024.
Agreed. This MacVoices live session wraps up with a showdown between Apple Maps and Waze by Google. And you might be surprised at some of the conclusions. That's next time on MacVoices. I'm Chuck Joyner. I'll see you then. As always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices each month. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.